Hey guys, welcome back to Game Week Talks. Game Week 8, it's been a really good week for all the top six teams except Arsenal. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to talk about this game week because it's going to be a lot of reactions from Srinivas. I hope he doesn't go on a rant, man. That's all I want. But I believe knowing Srinivas, he will do that. So
Yeah, man.
evidently, we should have started talking about City versus Liverpool, but the bigger talking point of the game week is Arsenal. And do you want to go with it? Do you want to start?
Yeah, Arsenal, Aston Villa, man. It was, what to say, it was the most embarrassing moment of the season so far. I know we lost like three more games, but then the other three games we had a chance of winning.
Hmm.
But this game we were outplayed from the first. Like they scored from the first 40 seconds, but that was like ruled out by VAR. But still we didn't wake up from that earlier warning, and we kept playing our game. I think the guys were too overconfident, and they thought they could just beat Villa because from last week's happiness to straight away we are just
It's
going
such an
down
Arsenal
this week.
thing.
It's such a we did what we do, man. We bring the hopes up, and then we just falter when we have to win these games. And this we can't blame Arteta for picking the
Hmm.
same team that played against Manchester United, but we have to call him out on certain decisions. Wherein
Right.
because Pepe was really good in Europa League, so he should have started. And their midfield three outplayed our midfield two.
Hmm.
But Partey was injured from like ninth minute or something, so we are playing with 10 men basically till 45 minutes. And once Partey went off, you could see the class in the midfield
Right.
just drop. Like El Nini couldn't do anything. El Nini and Ceballos were just run apart, and they was taken apart by Grealish, McGinn, and Barkley. And yeah, man, it was such a stupid game to watch, because it's watching at 12:45 a.m. in the morning, and to see your team put that irritating
It is
performance.
irritating.
On the midnight of Monday, by
It
the way.
not just messes with you, it messes with
Exactly,
your sleep
it's
schedule.
It's the midnight, man. Early morning of Monday, we had to
Right.
go through this. People in the UK have to pay 15 pounds to watch this bullshit.
Well,
And
apparently they changed it, so they didn't have to pay 15 pounds to watch that. They discontinued that.
thank God. Thank God. If they had to, I think they would have marched to the Emirates and they would have asked the refund, man. And the the players should be happy that the fans were not on
Right,
the stadium that day. It would have been such a toxic environment for the fans, because they had been booed off. They would have
right,
been booed off
right,
left, right, and center, because no one played for the team. No one played together. Because first time, like, what I had to like just say what Art said, like in his post match reaction. He
right.
said interview. He said that this is the worst I've seen the team play under him. So I have to say that this is the worst I've seen Arsenal play in a very long time.
Right,
And I've seen worse performances than this, like
right.
Baku, the 10-2 Bayern defeats.
Yeah.
I like to put this performance up there, because we were played off, man. Like Grealish had a
Mm,
great game,
mm.
and I'm not saying we played really bad. The Villa just outclassed us. Like
Right,
we were so stupid, we were so naive in our formation and so naive
right,
in our gameplay, that Villa just took us apart. They did what they did to Liverpool.
right.
They were just so direct, and we didn't
Mm,
know
mm,
what
mm.
happened. Gabriel, who was supposed to be who's our best player till now, looked really bad that day,
Mm.
because I think the old Arsenal creeped into him and possessed him or something. I don't know. Like, and Tierney bouncing off, like, he just tackled himself and he flew away, and I don't know what happened. Like, there was some sniper out there trying to kill him or something. That's how it looked. And Grealish like out muscled Bellerin, and he's bounced off Bellerin for the third goal. And
It almost
and
brings back you the memory of Francis Coquelin.
Yeah, exactly. The Coquelin moment where he almost piggy banked till the goal on Eden Hazard's back. That was so hilarious. And the thing is, like, we have Aubameyang, who's like the last year's. He almost got the Golden Boot last year, and the year
Right.
before he was the Golden Boot. And we have this kid Ollie Watkins who scored like 5 goals against Liverpool and
Right.
Arsenal, and Aubameyang has not scored anything this season.
Yeah.
I think he has scored again.
He scored
He scored
just two
1 goal in the
goals.
Premier League.
He scored
Yeah, he
one
scored
against
2
Fulham
goals.
and one against United. That was
It's
a
not good
penalty.
enough, man. It's not good enough. And there's so many statistics that we've not scored a lot of goals from open play. And the last goal we scored in open play was against Sheffield United. That was when Pepe was playing on the right and
Right.
Willian was moved
Right.
into the center and Saka was in the left and Auba was in the middle. So we
Right.
have to play that way going forward. We have 2 weeks now. We have 2 weeks to retrospect on the defeat,
Right.
and
Right.
I hope for Arteta's sake he changes his mind, because these are the games that we need to bounce back. There are certain games that will tell you that this system does not work at
Right.
all. This is one such game which showed that. It just put the spotlight on the team, and Lacazette should be benched, and Aubameyang, because he can't do anything. The same kid, Watkins, he was doing everything Lacazette couldn't do the entire game. He was
Right.
when people put the ball to him, it stuck with him. He could run with the ball, and Lacazette is like it's somewhere middle. He can't do what Giroud does. He can't do what Aubameyang does as well. He's somewhere in the middle. He's half baked. I don't know. He's not. But to be fair, he started playing well in the beginning of the season,
Right.
and that's why I think Arteta persisted with him. But complete stupidity, man. This performance, like from last week, we were all saying Arteta in yes and all. I'm still giving Arteta the time, because I feel he's not been given the time, and also he's not been given the resources to compete. Okay,
Right.
and it's just 6 to 8 months since he's been here, and he's already won us the FA Cup and the Community Shield. People say it's just covering paper over cracks and all that, but then it's still a title. It's still a it's still a trophy.
I don't know.
Right, so we need to give him the
They
time.
got 2 of the top 4 last season.
Exactly, we need to. I trust in the process, but I hope he plays the right team against Leeds, because Leeds are going to rip us apart. They are more direct than Villa, and like Anirudh and I discussed, Bielsa would have just.
He would have studied this game left, right, and center. He would have
taken lots of.
He would have gone
he
from minute 1 to minute 90. He would have studied every single player, and he would have said, "Yeah, let's not just defend. Let's go in for the kill."
Exactly. They exploited Holding's weakness, which is his speed, and he was Ollie Watkins was turning him constantly, and you can't blame Leno for any of those goals, because there's obviously going to be this Martinez Leno discussion happening there. But to be honest, they played well, man. We can't take anything away from Villa.
I mean, you do say that it's not between Martinez and Leno, but I don't recall Martinez making a save. But probably you should give credit to Villa's defense than ours. Probably
no, it's because Lacazette can't finish it. He can't like put a head onto a ball. He couldn't do that. Like last week against Leicester, he ducked away from the ball. This week, Tierney gave him a brilliant chance. He just blazed it over the post.
I mean, it must really be frustrating.
How can a striker be so consistent in not scoring, man? He's a striker. He's a 50 million pound striker, and he can't put the ball in the back of the net.
Like, I mean, to me, the most ironic part was you sold in Giroud to accommodate Lacazette, and Giroud's been doing well.
No, he's not been getting into the team anyway. But yeah, he was our plan B, but then Giroud didn't want to be the plan B.
Right.
He wanted to be the sole striker that he will never be. He can't be the sole striker for any team. If he wants to play, he can be in the top. If it's a 4-4-2, he can play alongside the striker. He can't lead a line on all by himself. but he's a great plan B to have, and we don't have that plan B. Our plan
I
B
mean,
is playing in the plan A, and they are not doing shit.
I know we always, I underestimate Giroud. A lot of people underestimate Giroud, but he started the last fag end of Chelsea last season. He started a lot of soul striker, and he did win us a lot of games. He did play. He did look
Yeah, Giroud
comfortable.
and Pulisic. Yeah, Giroud and Pulisic basically helped you into the top three top
Top
four, right,
four.
last season.
Yeah.
So they were brilliant for you, but I'm not saying we miss Giroud, man, but
Right.
we need a creative midfielder,
Hmm.
and this particular formation is not going to work all the time. It
Right.
worked against United, but it's not going to work against Villa or other teams who don't have any fear. They will just come to you, and if you don't have a proper outlet, which we for us it's always Aubameyang most of the time. These He was marked completely
Right.
the entire game,
Yeah, Srini,
even
speaking
against Manchester
of
United.
Aubameyang going into the future, do you probably think Aubameyang should be playing in the number 9 role and Bukayo
Hmm.
Saka playing in the left wing? Or do you see that as a
Yeah,
distinct?
I think that's something that Arteta should do, because Lacazette is getting a
I
lot of
don't think
stick
Lacazette
right
is
now.
good enough.
Yeah, he's not. He was good, but he's not good anymore.
Yeah.
He's missing chances that like cost us the games, man. He didn't score against Liverpool, that 1-on-1, and he didn't score against Leicester, which was an easy header. And then last week he didn't score well. Like, it's I don't know why Arteta is
Hmm.
persisting with him, but for all the confidence that Arteta has on Lacazette, he's not being repaying that.
I mean, I think it's the
He's
same
just
reason as
been
why
so
we
poor.
stick with Kepa for a long. It's just saving his value. I think I can get why he's trying to, play Lacazette. Probably wants to increase the value and sell him off in the immediate transfer window. That might be the only
Yeah,
option
probably.
I can think of. But yes, I think
No,
Lacazette's been really piss poor, to be entirely honest. Even as a neutral fan, he's not
what's
delivered to his standards what I expected him when he was this signing who should have revolutionized Arsenal, who should have been scoring a lot of goals. I mean, I was excited because in that window is the window where we signed Morata, you signed Lacazette, and United signed Lukaku. And all these strikers actually started their career relatively well. And I expected Lacazette to carry his form, but apparently, you know how it played with Morata. It's not playing well with Lacazette.
no,
The only striker who
it's
came out on
always the
top
case.
was Lukaku, and they sold him. He was the first to go out of United.
It's the case is that for with Arsenal is that when our defense was poor, we had a very good midfield and very good attacking force.
Attacking
And
force,
when our
yeah.
defense looks good, we are not able to score. I'm not blaming Arteta, because he knows that
Hmm.
our defense is very bad, and it needs a lot of protection, and that's why he is playing with very defensive-minded midfielders.
Right,
But against Villa at home, I would have been fine if we lost 4-3 or 3-2,
right,
or if
right.
you play really well and had so many chances and we yet lost. I think I would have been happier with that. I'm okay with taking an L, but as long as the performance is good, I'm
As
fine with
long
it.
as you
But
see something, I get that. I really get that because I mean, to me, what I was very surprising for me was from last season to this season. You say there is a change, but I've seen a step back in the starting of the games from Arteta because he's been very defensive. I'm not actually, I don't want to I don't want to slate Arteta. I still feel he's a good manager, but I feel it's taken a step back from what you've been doing last season because I can see a lot of goals, lot of build up play from back to front, but I don't see that happening this season with the same system because you guys had the same system for the last fag end of the last season and you did well and you did win the FA Cup with the same system and probably coming to the season when you started well against Fulham, I thought, okay, this is playing well, but when you after Fulham game, I think there has been a completely different shift. There's not been enough chance created. I don't know if you have to, blatantly point the finger at Arteta, but I don't think so. Arteta is the only guy you should be blaming here. There's a lot of players you need to ask questions because And the very surprising fact was Aubameyang, who actually has a lot of shot, did not have a shot on target in that game, which was very, very
No, he
shocking.
was nowhere near. He was nowhere
Hmm.
near the goal. He was providing crosses for Lacazette, who cannot
It
score
is
anything.
not his game, which is what
So
I feel.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is not
he
his
should
game.
either Lacazette, they should play 4-4-2 with Lacazette and Aubameyang up front,
He's
or
almost
they should
reluctantly
just.
playing a left wing, is what I feel.
No, he doesn't want to see. A lot, people would say that he did score a lot of goals from the left.
Hmm.
That's true, but then when we were scoring a lot of goals from our left, we were conceding a lot of goals as well.
Right,
Right now, goals, we are not conceding that many goals, like except for
right.
that Villa game. We haven't conceded a lot of goals. We've been very defensively solid, but our attack has been like bad for a lot of games, and it shows that we need an attacking midfielder. I think in January we have to go and buy an attacking midfielder, or we should give the youth a chance. There are players like Smith Rowe and Willock and all these kids.
Right.
They can be given a chance in the midfield, because at the moment our midfield is just Partey. If there's no Partey in our midfield, it's the second half performance against Villa.
Mm, mm,
It's
mm.
too open. There's no there's a lack of presence in the midfield, and players like Grealish, Barkley, and Megan, they will just have a field day if there's not many people in the midfield who
Right.
can actually put some pressure on them. So it's really bad. I hope that he changes it completely. I hope
Mm.
this one bad game, and it showed that it doesn't work anymore. And I hope he benches Lacazette and plays
I mean,
Aubameyang up
I
front.
really
And
get that, because you say that you guys have been defensively solid, but I expect you guys to be defensively solid when you start three at the back. Because you start three at the back and you should be expecting your team to do well. No team should be conceding goals when you start three at the back. I expect that. But going forward, I expect Arsenal to transition to 4-3-3, which is the transition. I think we already had this discussion. When you change the 3-4-3 to 4-3-3, it's going to be another
we
shift
need
of
that.
transition. And you're going to see a lot of mistakes and a lot of, when you change a system
No,
from one system to other system, there might be a huge shift
but
in
in
player.
4-3-3, yeah, but in 4-3-3, I feel everyone's going to be playing in their preferred position. So
Right.
I think there'll be more
I mean,
up
there might
for
be,
it.
what I'm trying to say is there you might find new problems that you need to solve. So wouldn't it be better if you started playing 4-3-3 right now to solve those problems and then, go and solve those. You don't need to
I
have
think
the
if
two shifts.
if Lacazette is benched, I think we'll go with the 4-3-3 option.
Right.
So I think Willian on the right wing he's not the same Willian that used to play in Chelsea or used to play in
We
Shakhtar.
told you so.
So he was good. He was good in that
Look, I am
Sheffield
not
game
going to
when he was
slate
playing in
Willian.
the
I
middle.
still think there is a really good player in him, but he is he played well in Chelsea till his last game, so I have no complaints against Willian. But I feel at Arsenal he can't be the starting winger. He should be the squad player, and he should start to accept
He
that. But
could play.
that is the one thing he was very reluctant to agree because he wanted to start all the games, but with the signings that we've got in like ZH and Hudson-Odoi, there was a problem with that. So it was
Obviously,
good
there's
that
not
we got
many
off him with our
chances
payroll.
given for Willian.
Yeah. It was good that we got
So
him off
man,
our
it's
payroll.
just so irritating to be an Arsenal. Yeah, I think it's a great thing for you guys to get him off the payroll, but I thought he would bring us some defensive
Right.
solidity and some experience, because that's what Arteta wants. So I feel that if we stop playing with Lacazette up front, we will go to a 4-3-3,
Hmm.
and we could also play a 4-4-2, or just play Aubameyang up front and see what he can do, man. Because we know that guy can score goals. And with Saka on the left, who's going to be assisting a lot, and Pepe on the right, who's going to be unpredictable as usual. So Auba is going to get a lot of chances to score.
Right.
So I just want to see that, because I've not seen that so far this season, where we've played an entire game with Aubameyang up front. We've never done that this year. So I want to see that now.
To take
Look,
any
actually,
sort of, sorry, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, transitioning from 3-4-3 to 4-3-3 in Arsenal's point of view is a tough thing. As Anirudh said, there might be new problems posing in front of Arteta, but I believe in Arteta. I believe in his capabilities. That is actually tactically astute, and even if a new set of problems probably come and pose in front of him, I think he is capable of handling it. And yeah, I firmly believe that Aubameyang should be playing in the number 9 position, and Saka should be playing further up the pitch, because I think Lacazette has had his fair chance. But I think Arsenal do have to heavily consider playing Aubameyang through the center, because I don't think he likes playing in the wing anymore. I think it was a stopgap solution, but I think they should seriously
I
consider
wouldn't
him
say
playing
that
through
he
the
don't
middle.
like to play. It's just his gameplay has been read completely. He used to cut
Yeah.
from left and score goals. His
People are
gameplay has been read.
Yeah, the end, whoever plays marks Aubameyang, they're just playing much more deeper so that they can get to the ball, and he does not have any space to run behind them. So it's actually very easy for people to just predict that so far, and we're not being able to score goals. That's the biggest issue right now.
Right now,
And
yes.
like you all said, it's going to be difficult if we transition to 4-3-3. But I feel the players will be playing in their preferred positions, and that
Right.
could be more good going forward. And I think that's the way, man. This
Right.
is just I know it's kind of a meltdown from Arsenal fans because we were all
everything right
hyped
now
up
in Twitter
after.
community is like that. There is a meltdown for lineup. There is a meltdown for
Yeah,
everything.
we just hyped up the victory against Man U, and then we thought we would follow it up with a really good victory against Villa, but then we lost massively, and it was just embarrassing. It shows, and people just say, yeah, it's Arsenal, they do what they have to do, it's Arsenal, they've done it again. So, and we have to live with this bullshit performance for 2 weeks until we play Leeds. Hopefully it's not the same
I
performance.
think
beauty of
every fan
international
is
game.
probably going to have a meltdown this season. It's been that kind of a season. So, I mean,
I
as a
agree.
neutral, it's very exciting.
No, I'll be happy if we win the Premier League and the Champions League like Liverpool did, and then the next season if we lose 2 games, I'll be fine with it because we won 2 huge cups, and that's okay. But
I
it's
mean, the
not okay
pressure
for an
wouldn't be
Arsenal
as high.
fan to do. Yeah, the fans should
Yeah.
be like, fine, yeah, we know the team, we can give them a pass because
I
they
mean, that
won
is
us
the
the
exact
Champions League
difference
Cup.
between Liverpool losing 7-2. Even Liverpool losing 7-2, they brushed it aside. They brushed it aside like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
another victory. Yeah,
It wasn't a serious
we
game.
don't care. We know we can bounce back off it. So that is a really good thing to have as a team, because how long did that scoreline last? It's probably lasted a week. No one was talking about it after a week. But if had Arsenal lost 7-2, they would have been talking about the whole season. That is the difference
Yeah,
in,
It's
solidity
that's
that
exactly
Liverpool's
what
having
I
right
said,
now.
because on the same game day, 2 hours before, United lost 6-1 to Tottenham. But you see the problem still persisting over here.
Right.
We'll come to that shortly. But I think Liverpool, even without Van Dijk, they've been very solid. And I think a huge credit has to go to Klopp. I mean, the players are mentally strong, and that is the stuff of champions, right? In the end,
I
I
mean,
think
just
it's
talking
been a
about
tremendous
injuries,
4 sets of games for
I'm
both.
sorry, man, I'm just interrupting you. Just talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
injuries. There has been a news that Gomez has been injured. I know I'm smiling. Everyone other than Liverpool fans are smiling. But it's been uh, I am excited on how they
right.
tackle. Gomez is injured currently, and it's really interesting on how Liverpool is going to tackle that. Are they going to sign any? I mean, I feel they should sign a new centre back to solve this issue, but it's going to be really interesting on how they're going to resolve this defensive shambles they've got. I mean, we say that it's defensively shambles, but I've just read a stat saying they've conceded more goals with Van Dijk in the pitch than him being without in the pitch. They've conceded less goals without Van Dijk
But
on the
that was
pitch.
predominantly because of the Aston Villa game, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's probably an outlier.
right. Yeah, makes sense probably.
No, it's difficult to say that, but it's not just Van Dijk that they've lost. They've lost Fabinho. They've lost
They're also losing Arnold, I
Trent.
guess.
Right.
Trent is like out for a long time now, and Thiago is just coming back. and that defensive solidity will be difficult to get back if there's a new signing.
Right.
But I think they will. Who knows? They might even find a Trent Alexander-like player in their.
I hope they don't, man. I really hope they don't.
Because he came from nowhere, man.
I
Trent,
know.
like out of the blue, he became a superstar. So I think if they could find someone like that,
Like Alaba is available, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, Alaba is available. They are also like looking for Ozan Kabak, and Upamankano also could be purchased. But I think all this can only happen in the summer. But
Right.
in Jan, I don't know what they're going to do.
I also
they're
have
still
this,
summer.
big question mark if the Bayern would be letting to sell Alaba in Jan window, being the very catastrophic season that is. They will have also a lot of, things planned around him. So I feel if that is going to happen, it might possibly only happen in summer. But yes, as you guys were saying, they should sign someone, and that should be in the January transfer window. So, I mean, talking about Liverpool, that game against City, I think in many ways, I felt City were more dominant. They were more creating. I mean, obviously, De Bruyne missed. De Bruyne, I wouldn't say missed. De Bruyne completely bottled City's win.
People are joking De Bruyne
yeah.
crossed that particular penalty.
I mean, there was a lot of.
It's like, I'm sorry to just talk about Arsenal right now. That moment would have felt like Aubameyang missing the free penalty against Tottenham in the last dying minutes against Tottenham, where he just missed it. I think that could be the same.
I mean, we can always compare this to the same game where Mahrez missed that, penalty in Anfield.
Yeah, at Anfield.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't cost them at that year.
Yeah.
I think this year is just fine margins, man, for Liverpool, for Manchester City to have won against Liverpool this early in the campaign would have given Pep such confidence.
Look, I think none of the top six, apart from Liverpool and City, are complaining that he missed the penalty. It's more points dropped by both the teams, and it brings us that much more closer to being there. So I wanted City to win. What do
you mean by top six? What is top six anymore, man? I don't even remember top six anymore. We are in the 11th right now. Like the gap between the top six and the gap from 11th and the top is just like 6 points. It's just ridiculous this season. we lost 4 games and we are still 6 points away from the top.
Yeah, it is a catastrophic season. No one's definitely denying that.
It's exciting, but to be frank, like you said, I felt Man City were playing really well. They dominated a lot of possession because obviously they have a better attacking team than Liverpool. Right now, Firmino is doing a Lacazette for them. Then
I wouldn't compare Firmino as bad as Lacazette at the moment. He's doing something, but he's just not being converting into goals. He's part of the winning team,
man. So he's part of a winning team, so no one's going to complain. If Firmino if Lacazette was at Liverpool and he was winning, no one's going to care if he scores or not. But if Firmino was at Arsenal and he was not scoring anything, and we were not scoring anything from the wings as well, then Firmino automatically would become a bad player. So I think that's the case. Firmino is doing a job there because their wingers are brilliant at holding up the ball and progressing the ball. So Mane wins the penalty and Salah scores. It's becoming a trend right now.
Yeah.
Lots of penalties this season.
On the flip side, Liverpool will be very happy coming away from the Etihad with the point, because I think there's a statistic over the last 3 years. City have won 3 games over an aggregate score of 11-1. I mean, that's a big deal because it's literally the top 2, right? The top 2 teams in the league. So without Van Dijk, without Fabinho, without Thiago, I think Liverpool had a lottery of a match. I mean, there was another chance where Gabriel Jesus also missed an easy header from point blank.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and there are actually 2 contentious penalty calls. I mean, they were harsh. I mean, it was 50-50, but I think Kyle Walker shouldn't have gone and done something so stupid, because I think what Mane was about to do was predictable and it was just an easy let go and Liverpool just backed the lead. But
No,
I
no,
think
you can't blame you can't blame the players, man, right? These days, because when you if you if you don't go down, the referee is not going to give you the penalty. He's
exactly
just
right.
going to
And
give you an
before Mane went down 1 minute back, Sterling he was fouled, but he didn't go down.
I
But
mean,
in technique,
it is so much like last season where they didn't get the two handballs. I mean, that
exactly.
particular moment, it is like that. But but I feel there's a whole culture going with the players where they can easily go down and get all these decisions,
Yeah.
rather than it's becoming very contagious. Like if even if the youngsters say like if you touch, just go down. It's just becoming a culture, and it's just not a healthy thing for the football.
that's become a part of the tactics these days,
Right.
man. Like players like Wadi, like he's a master of such things. Like he just, if he feels a contact in the box, he just goes down
Right.
without any question. Like last week, if Bellerin had not gone down, that wouldn't have been a penalty. It would have been a
Right.
normal tackle. So those are the fine margins that these players are playing with. So if
I
you
mean,
don't
all the
go down, you're
events
not
that
going to get a
we
penalty.
talked about is about the first half. And the second half was completely a
It
different
was
shift. It
boring.
was
It was
boring. It
it was a
was
drab affair.
I
boring.
think both the teams were happy with the draw, and I think they were just fine. They were okay with it. I think Liverpool came
Hmm.
worst of it because of the Trent injury. Man
Right.
City. So I think that's a huge blow
I mean,
for them.
it makes that
Uh,
much more sense for them to come out with a point, because had they lost that game, Liverpool we would have been looking at a different, probably a different points in the table, and it might have drained them a little bit more. So
no
yes,
team looks invincible this year. No
no
team
Yeah.
team,
looks
yes.
We
invincible.
were speaking
No
of
team looks
Arsenal's
airtight.
attack not firing. Even City's attack hasn't been that good either. I mean, I think they've scored
I
just
mean, one player I
nine goals in
would,
7 games.
yes, and exactly one player I would like to slate is Sterling. He has been piss poor that game. I mean, if any City fan, I think, would agree, because he could have got what, two, three goals last season if that was the Sterling we had seen. But this season, those chances what he got, he couldn't take even a shot. I felt so frustrated for different reasons, because I had him in my FPL and I was screaming shoot, and he didn't. He was cutting back. He was doing all nonsense inside the box. But yes, I was so frustrated even as a Chelsea fan for not seeing him score.
I think both the teams would take a draw, like Sharpa
Hmm.
said, because it's a good draw, but
Yeah.
Liverpool came worse off because of the injury. I think
Hey
that
man,
makes
even
it
we're
even
not
much.
complaining.
Yeah, the other teams could have catched up. I think you both did a great job in catching up, unlike my team, who keep doing this on a regular basis, man. Like, when we get the opportunity, we don't take it. And speaking of one team that's catching up, and a team that's finding a way to win, I think Tottenham, man. Tottenham,
Yeah.
they somehow find a way to win games.
Right.
I was
I
Like
watching
mean,
that game. It was
they,
very tight. West Brom were organized at the back. I mean, West Brom have just 1 point from 7 games, I guess, and they were determined not to let anything go. And I mean, Kane suddenly pops up from nowhere. There were a few good chances for Tottenham, though. I mean, a few of the chances could have been taken earlier. But I think West Brom were really, really solid at the back. I mean, they were determined not to let anything go. But
that is
Harry
not
Kane just
what I
popped
want to
out from
hear
nowhere.
for Tottenham, to be entirely honest. I don't want to hear that, because Tottenham being defensively solid I don't want to hear that story, man. It doesn't make
I was
any.
actually talking about West Brom, not Tottenham.
I mean, even Tottenham were solid. They didn't let a
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, yeah.
So it makes that much more, headache for all the other teams. They're not letting a goal inside. I mean, I'd much rather take anything like Kane scoring and they
and
bottling it, again for different
it's
reasons. But it,
from an Arsenal fans' perspective, seeing Kane score this many goals and assisting
it's
so
just not
much,
goals. The
and
amount
our
of goal
players,
contributions he's got in like what 10, 15 games is,
I think
Exactly.
yeah.
it's like in more than 15 or 16 goal contributions. I think so.
So the thing is,
It's just
I mean, Tottenham have three tough fixtures. I think it's City,
Right.
Chelsea, and Arsenal. And I
an
was actually
Arsenal. Yeah.
thinking, I have Kane, Son, and Reguilon in my FPL. I just asked in a random group on Facebook whether I should remove all these three Tottenham players, and few people were actually saying, "What are you going to seriously remove Kane and all that?" And even if Harry Kane doesn't score, he is always contributing to the game.
Right.
Whether it's assisting or putting the final pass and all that. I think he's actually grown into a complete striker over the last 2-3 years.
Right.
Hats off.
I mean, it makes that much more sense when you say that, because even for Chelsea and even for Tottenham, these games are winnable. And I think a lot of the players, a lot of things have been blown out of proportion, saying like Tottenham are winning games, Chelsea are winning a lot of games. Yes, we are winning games, but these games should be won. It's like a lot of teams, a lot of things are they've been talking as if it's very it's a huge thing that they've not it's like they've won against a top 6 team. It's not. For me, if you ask me personally, Burnley is a team that they are 19th in the table and Sheffield are 20th. So it's that much more sense that we just win. If we had not gotten result, that's a completely different side of the conversation. Same goes with Tottenham. Tottenham's fixtures, everything is winnable, and I felt,
except for the Manchester United game, I think they had a very good fixture list in the first, like till now.
Right.
Unlike us, our fixture list has been poor, so our performances have been as poor as our fixture list. So I'm not saying anything. But Tottenham, they've had their chances and they've taken it, man. I'm not saying they were really good. They against West Ham, they were not playing that well. Even against the only game that I feel that they outplayed a team is against Manchester United, and that too because Manchester United were not in their being themselves. They were playing some high line, and Tottenham did what they do. Yeah. So with Tottenham, I think the next 3 games will give a great. We'll look into what Tottenham are actually made of. If they could, if they can get 15 points or like even 12 points from those 3 games, then they'll be firm title contenders or title favorites.
They should be, actually, in my point of view, they should be considered right now. It's like we can't discount Tottenham, and the other team we keep discounting is Leicester and Southampton. Leicester are always, in the top of the league. They start extremely well, but we know what happens when the season goes. They don't extremely finish well, and it's always a frustrating thing for Leicester fans. But this season, I feel, they get the result. They've had some tricky fixtures, and they've come on top. So we can't discount Leicester till now. And Vardy keeps scoring. He's just keeps scoring.
He keeps scoring. Yeah. Speaking of penalties, and we'll just have to transition to Manchester United right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, one team that's actually silently making the noise is Wolves. First season they got promoted. Okay, maybe it's a dream, I guess. Sheffield are finding it very tough in the second season, but Wolves managed the 6th place finish last season, and even now they're up and running. I think they have 3 clean sheets in their last 3 games. I think they're very stout. Semedo is also proven to be very good. So I think the Wolves can be contenders for the top 4. Not exactly going for the title and all that. Look, it's been that kind of a season, and that is where my prediction is resting on. So you can't say anything because the big teams, all of the big teams have lost, and all of the big teams have lost big. So I mean, it's more of to be honest, the fixtures are getting tighter and tighter, and when it comes to November, the later weeks of November and December, I think the top teams are going to struggle, especially with just 3 substitutes. So
I really get that. I get that point, because in my perspective, any team that isn't in the Europe and in the top 8, I think they have a brighter chance of finishing in the top 4, because I think Everton are in the Europe, and I think even Wolves are in Europe, right?
Yeah,
if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So I feel just for those reasons, when the fixtures is going to get tricky, I think they will see a lot of results go against them. But the teams such as who performed extremely well, like Sheffield, I think there might be one such team that we might see this season in the top half of the table, or even the top 6 of the table. I feel it was still going to be a traditional top 6 like last season. and I have a firm belief that Wolves, they did have a brighter start, but I don't think so. They will have that bright momentum when it goes carries. They carry through the season, but they are doing some extremely good job with all these new signings. Like the you
Even the new
Semedo,
kid, Al Nouri, he also scored on his
yeah,
debut, I guess.
right.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
Nuri and
it's
Semedo have been good. And
right.
guys, how do you feel, Sharda? Like you just beat Everton. I think
Uh,
it's 4-1, right?
it's
Is it
3-1,
4-1?
3-1.
Whenever
3-1,
Ole
yeah.
needs a result, he gets one. Is what everyone's saying.
Yeah. Look, man,
Whenever
I
is
can't
yes.
start exactly from Everton. I will start from that dreadful night at Istanbul, which I had to go through. And you know what? The only thing which I thought after that match was, thank God it was 11:25 kickoff and not a 1:30 kickoff. That was the only thing I thought of, because two shots on target. One was a Martial header which went into the goal, and the other was some 30-yard shot by Matic in his weaker foot from 30 yards out at the 90th minute. Those are the only two shots on target. And look, it was a really good result. I'm not taking anything away from it, but it was mostly created by one and only. It was just one man, probably just carrying the stream away. I mean, Bruno Fernandes,
Bruno.
sometimes I do think, I mean, people say that he has the stats, but sometimes he doesn't have the gameplay for that. But I think he was the catalyst for United's win that day. I mean, the header he just flung through, and even the last goal against Cavani. I mean, in the post-match press conference after the game, he was asked why didn't he take a shot and probably try to complete a hat trick. At that time, he gracefully said Cavani is a new striker. He hasn't played for a longer period of time. So I thought a goal would do him a world of good. So I get that. I mean, it's a very good result. I mean, beating Everton away, and I mean, I don't know if it's a trend or something. United just seem to be keeping winning games only away, not at home. But uh, there is still this pessimism. I think I heard news yesterday that Shaw got injured, which can turn out to be good news, because I can see Alex Telles finally start firing in
Yes, yeah.
crosses. So,
I mean, let's slightly deviate from what we are talking right now. I just want to ask you if we've never talked about this in this channel. Are you still Ole?
I was coming to that. Okay, so when you probably asked Srini on whether he still trusts in Arteta, he does. I do trust in Ole. Okay, but it's been, I think, 2 years since he came, and there is still not a particular brand of play that United are playing till now. You talk about Arteta. You can probably say he's tactically astute. Chelsea right now, they're attacking like anything. Man City, they play the possession game, and Liverpool, they do the Geigen pressing. So, but with Ole, you have no clue which team is turning up every day. I mean, it is probably, it is so inconsistent. The players are not inconsistent. And to be honest, the game at Istanbul, I was actually thinking the players were playing to get the manager sacked. So
Like Chelsea.
yeah,
Yeah, we do that, man. We sometimes, I'm not gonna say we don't do that. We did that when for Mourinho, we did that for Conte. When we don't feel a manager is not doing well, we suddenly switch off. The energy is not good. I mean, it's not just us. It's most of the clubs. If the things doesn't go their way, they don't play for the manager. You can even say that for Wenger. You can even say that for Mourinho at far end of his career with the Pogba thing.
United, yeah,
It's
yeah.
but we are more we keep changing managers and we seem to don't care about it. So let's Chelsea are a different
But
category.
yeah, looking at Ole, look, I think he still needs one. He hasn't been backed by the board over the last summer. Okay, so you just can't. He did a really good job last season with a limited squad, not that many signings, losing Lukaku. He has been doing very well in Inter, but trusting a young squad, I think he's building slowly a squad for the future. There is a statistic that came where
Right.
they compared Klopp's first 100 games in charge of Liverpool and Ole's first 100 games in charge of United. There wasn't a lot of difference. I think it was just a matter of 1 or 2 wins. And look, let me be downright honest here. If you're probably going to, if a United fan is probably going out and going to say that he wants to sack Ole, Ole is not the first person who should be sacked. I think there are a
Right.
lot of problems happening with the board. He is not getting
Right.
that backing of the board. Maybe United don't have a gameplay right now, but I think at least he's getting the main results, right? He's playing well.
I mean,
They're
he
obviously
does
not
get the result.
consistent.
I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? If let's take a small, again a small diversion. If you take Bruno away from this team, right?
Yeah,
What is United state?
they won't finish in the top 6.
Exactly, which is my point. So that must really, really concern you, right?
It does concern me, but you also have to look at the thing that he has actually two. I mean, Cavani and Alex Telles were not signings made to the extent of Bruno. Obviously, you have Donny van de Beek, but
Right.
when he's actually signed, Maguire, Bruno, and Donny van de Beek, 3 signings in 3 windows. I still think is probably less than what he actually wanted. He wanted a left-footed centre back. He wanted a proper left back, and he wanted a right winger. He still hasn't got that. And when I'm actually talking of right wingers, we'll come to that. I am actually thinking Chelsea have struck a huge bargain with Hakim Ziyech. They've probably saved 80 million from
We'll come to him.
120
We'll come to
million
him.
value Jadon Sancho. But when you say that if you remove Bruno from this team, United, I will come out. I will firmly say that United wouldn't be finishing in the top 6. But I will also have to agree that Ole still hasn't got the transfer backing. He still hasn't gotten what he wanted, and he delivered Champions League football, which no one expected last year. I think most of the people were probably expecting Tottenham or Arsenal to usurp us, but being Emery's second season, and Tottenham had just come off a Champions League final, so I mean things didn't go against them. But you also had Leicester and Wolves competing for most of the season. But even then, especially post-Corona, I mean, in Project Restart, I think United were the best team that were playing over the period of 9 to 10 games. I think even if you look at the points table for those 10 games, United were the best team. But there are issues. I wouldn't say there aren't any issues. There is still a lack of a gameplay. There is a lack of vision, and there is a huge lack of consistency. People aren't performing week in and week out. But I think Ole has to be given the reins at least till the end of the season. Probably get a signing or two, and I'll be happy if he lands a Champions League place. I'll be very realistic with this. I'm not going to say that United have to be challenging for title this season. It takes time. Klopp took 3.5 years to probably.
Which player would revolutionize your team? A player like Jack Grealish would just take you another level, another step. Your midfield would be crazy because Bruno is the top. Bruno keeps closing in people, and Jack Grealish is also such type of a player who can run with the ball, and he's so tenacious in tackle.
I mean, United did have the option of signing Bruno, but they did go for Donny Beek, right? I don't think so.
Grealish, right?
Option of signing Grealish.
Yeah, Grealish.
Yeah, United did have the chance of signing Grealish, but they went and signed Donny van de Beek, and I don't see them signing Grealish right now. If they're gonna sign Grealish, I think. I mean, yeah, you could argue it's United and they could sign anyone.
No, they will. They will if Pogba leaves.
This is exactly what I was about to say. This is a left field thought. I think there are thoughts starting that United will accept offers for 60 million for Pogba. And let me be very honest. If it's 60 million, please take it and let him get out of the club because he's not been worth it. And I'll gladly.
His mind is not in the club.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I just read an article where Didier Deschamps said he's not been played in the right position. I frankly feel it's bullshit because he's been playing the same position in the 2018-19 season. He had 10-15 goals. I think it was his best United season, and he could easily replicate it. Yeah, he could easily replicate it, and I feel they're just protecting Pogba, and I have every right to believe that he should be doing well because he was gassed up so much, and he should have been doing a lot better. And I also
he's a world-class player.
He is a world-class player for France and not for United, though.
Yeah. It is very weird to actually say that. I mean, playing well for France, but not replicating it here at United. And yeah, the 17-18 season, what Didier Deschamps is saying is pure bullshit because in that season, Pogba wasn't playing in his favorable position. It was Pogba, Matic, and Mkhitaryan was playing as the number 10 in the first half of the season. So this is pure bullshit. I mean, you don't obviously look at Pogba as a number 10. Probably you look at him in the left side of the midfield. Look, I think Pogba is just making too many excuses of himself. He's not tracking the ball. I mean, off the ball, he's actually pathetic and poor. he's piss
It
poor
almost
and
feels like he wants to leave the club. I know I'm saying this out. I don't wait. Look, for me, if this is the form that Pogba is going to carry, I just want him to play for United for the next 5 years, 6 years. I don't care.
You should
Uh,
you must be glad that he has a resale value because
right,
he's such a
yeah.
big name
right.
that if he didn't have the resale value, then you guys would be stuck with a player who no one wants to buy.
The other thing
So
is
I'm
age.
pretty
He's
sure
not
there's
old.
so many. He's just what 24 or 20,
No, he's 27, man.
25, not
he's 26 or something. Still okay.
27.
I mean, we'll
like
still
still
get a good
man, like
price.
28
Yeah,
is like the prime for players. He's just
right.
20,
Yeah.
what 26, 27. So he would go for a lot of money, man. Like 60 mil or 70 mil for Pogba. You should just bite your hand off and just
I
like
mean,
give
the
it
thing
like
with
Yeah.
United is they've always had taken a loss with Pogba. That's the problem. Even if they're going to sell for 70 million, you got Pogba for 90, if I'm not wrong, right?
89, yeah. 89 to
Yeah.
90.
So it's still again a loss. And Pogba is look. He went for peanuts. He came back for millions. He's going again back for what 50. Let's say he's going to sell for 60 million.
Still
It's
30
it's
million
it's
less.
it's ridiculous.
But look, I actually wouldn't look at the money here. I mean, I'm not the manager, but if you're going to sell Pogba and get Grealish, I'll be open to it. I mean,
We are
I'll say
talking
bring
about
it on.
Grealish as if he's going to come cheap. He just signed a 5-year contract with Villa, and they're going to ask him a
he's going to
90
be
million.
80 to 90 million easily.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. And
after
yeah,
his games this season, he's just going to be even more. Like
the more
they could
he
even
plays
ask
well,
100 million.
it's going to rise up with this current state.
Yeah.
And I also see a pattern about this. Let's say United might sign him for 90 or 100 million, and he ends up like not playing well for 2 to 3 games, and it's immediate pressure on him because of the price tag. And it's just not him; it's just the way it's going right now for all the players who are going for big money, and
Yeah,
it's
No,
frankly
that actually
pathetic.
happened a
I
lot with Pogba during his
Mm.
first season. But I thought once Neymar and Mbappe were sold for more than 200 million, the world record price tag would probably be removed off his mind. But honestly, man, I think I'm actually fed up of Pogba. I think, look,
I feel
even if
Grealish.
just I'll finish this. Even if Pogba
Yeah,
leaves,
yeah.
we still have an able backup in Donny van der Beek. So we
Right.
can probably use that 60 or 65 million over on some other position.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, yeah, the Srini does have a point when he says Grealish can transform this United team. But with the 60 million, I still think we have good midfielders. Fred has been doing really well. It can still be invested in
Defense.
some other position. So that's what I feel. So yeah, Srini, finding the field.
Like you said, you can use that money in your defense. But I feel why I feel Grealish will hit the ground running is because he's playing so well in a Villa team.
Right.
Okay, but if he comes to United and he's already Premier League proven, he's going to be playing with better players, and his gameplay is just going to be even more better than how it is right now.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's uh, that's a brilliant result of teams that are scoring a lot of goals and have won this week. We'll have to talk about Chelsea, man. Their attack is just too good right now, and finally they concede a goal. I just want to know what
Yeah.
do you think about your team's performance?
Right. I mean, it's very easy to get carried away with the performance that Chelsea are, and I see a lot of Twitter communities saying Chelsea for title and all that sort of stuff. It's frankly saying it's bullshit. And I know I'm playing down this a lot, but I don't want to, have this expectation of that, the Chelsea are going to do. But Chelsea are definitely title contenders, in my opinion. And I've always been saying that. The thing with this win is that we've got a reaction out of the team after conceding the goal, which I feel is very important. This game last season, I mean, this is a team that we didn't even get, a win last season. We lost 3-0 against them at Sheffield, and they drew against us at our home. So we didn't even have a win against them. And to win against a team like Sheffield in the manner that we did at the bridge it's a lot of positive, because I don't remember a moment after their goal they had a clear-cut chance to score. because that's how good we were, and we dominated from ever since we conceded. And for me, it's very easy to believe, because Chelsea, for me, whenever I've seen them play, they've always been a one-trick pony. It's either Hazard producing a worldie, or everything you give it to Hazard and Hazard does something. And that's been the case for a lot of years. But what's happening, what I'm seeing in these games, or all what I've seen this season, is Tammy is scoring goals, Ziyech is creating goals, Werner is scoring goals, our defenders are scoring a lot of goals. And it's I have reasons to believe that this team is finally starting to click, and I'm seeing a proper system, because Frank started, okay, he's tried out few things in the recent past against West Brom. He's tried out 4-2-3-1. He's tried double pivot, and it's not clearly worked out. And he's changed to 4-3-3 in a Champions League game, and ever since that it's worked. What's more interesting is that, and I have a fear for like few players like Kovacic. I have a fear for players like Pulisic, because this team is playing extremely well without those help. And I know it's very easy to talk about, yeah, they're not playing well in spite of these players not coming into this team. But even I feel, even if those come, it's going to take a process for them to gel with all these teams. And it's going to be tough for them to get, because it's going to be a huge decision for Frank to drop a player who's playing well. And let's say, in the left, Werner is playing really well, and he drops Werner and puts Pulisic, and he gets a result, and the result goes against him. It's very easy to question why we dropped Werner. So I want to see how Frank actually manages that, because a lot of top managers have had this, thing to handle on how to manage all these players, and they've had a lot of trouble. And Frank is a very relatively young manager, and I want to see him. It's very early in his career, and it's good that he is very early in his career, because he can get a clear-cut idea on how to handle these things, because you can see how he wants his team to play in the training. Because a lot of questions were asked in Twitter, like, why was Hudson-Odoi not starting this game? Pulisic was injured. You can easily give Werner a rest, and you can easily start Hudson-Odoi on the left and Tammy on front. But he doesn't see that intensity for him in the training, and that's why I think he's not starting him. But even if he starts him, he wants to clearly stick to this team, because that's giving him the winning formula. And it's very interesting to see and how he carries this through the season. And one player I always expected him to do well and hit the ground running, is Hakim Ziyech, and he's starting to show his true color. He has this lethal left foot, and I admired his cross from right to left, and he was running the game. It's very easy, because we were not looking for him throughout the game. It's like they're creating a huge overload on the right with Reece James and Hakim Ziyech, and it's working really well. And it's good that Reece James is playing extremely well, because he's giving a tough competition to Alexander-Arnold right now. And being injured, it's good opportunity for him to shine at England right now. And yeah, Chelsea teams are taking shape, and they're playing really well. And I like how we are going through a process, and the process, it's starting to gel really well and fast, given the season.
I know it's a headache. For Lampard, but it's a good headache to have, because your front three, they are very dynamic, man. Like Werner can play anywhere in the front three. He can play on the left. He can play up middle. So when Pulisic comes, he can come on the left, and then Werner will be playing up top. So that's how dynamic your front three is. And with Ziyech and his level of creativity, he could even play in the center. Who knows? He could do a lot of stuff. So he's a great talent, and for a price tag of 30 million. Or less than that, I don't know, but it's just it's a steal, like you said, it's a steal like Kante. level
Right.
of steel. So cheap. And to be honest, I wanted him at Arsenal. He is like a perfect player for us. He would have been a perfect player for us, but now he's in Chelsea, and he's brilliant to watch, man. And with the attacking talents, we've been talking about Havertz and his impact that he would have. We could see the level, the class that Havertz needs to
Right.
be at to
Right.
have that impact. He's just a kid, Havertz, don't get me wrong, but you can see that Ziyech has the experience of playing in a very good Ajax team and playing really well in the Champions League. And it shows in the way he plays. He plays fearless. He plays like he's going to score anytime or create a goal anytime. And that's a threat for all the defenders in the Premier League. And for someone who's supporting Arsenal, it's a dreadful thing
It's
to
not a
have
nice thing
in
to
your
watch as
opponent's
an
team.
Arsenal or any London club who
And
supports another club.
we thought Pepe would be one that type of a player, and
I
he's
wouldn't,
not been getting a lot of
he's had a
chance.
slow start to his Arsenal career, but I can see him stepping up. But the thing I have really, everything right now at Arsenal seems a little bit of, it's been a gut. They've been punched in the gut and they've sucked out all the energy out of them. So it's going to take a lot of things for them to change. But I mean, let's not deviate again to Arsenal.
It's great that all these managers like Lampard,
Hmm,
Arteta, and Ole, uh, that they have been put to a test, like in that they have been put in this season. This season is going to be very competitive, and anyone who wins this season truly has the bragging rights, because
right,
when you've come out of when you come out on top in such a such a freaky season, it shows that you have the capabilities of doing anything with the anything with the team when the climate is not as confusing as right now.
right.
So it's going to be a great season. It's going to be a season where I might be going on a lot of rants, and Chelsea fans might be talking a lot about Ziyech and Bruno scoring million penalties and Body just spoiling a party everywhere. So it's going to be such season for all the teams, and I'm hoping for the next game week that it'll be a good one for Arsenal, and I don't care about your teams.
The next game
For
week is going to be a
Chelsea,
It is a
long
huge game
time.
week. Next
It's
week is
going
a
to
huge
be,
game week. Though.
yeah, it's going to be a
yeah,
long, long time because,
international friendlies is so stupid, man. I don't know why they have international games right now when there's Corona and the lockdown has been implemented in Europe.
hey man, I'm
It's
not
just stupid.
complaining. As soon as the international break started, we've got a news that where we can actually clinch the title. We can go easy on the title. Gomez being injured. I know I don't wish for injuries, but when it comes to Liverpool, we are not going to complain.
Yeah, it could be any player, man. It could be your player, it
Yeah,
could be our player.
yeah. I'm not saying
It's
that.
just
I mean,
so
yeah,
unpredictable. If it's not an hamstring, it could be Corona. So it's such type of a season where, like Sharda predicted, it's not going to be a 13 point or 14 point lead up
right.
for the winner. It's going to be like a 2 or 3 maximum. We who knows that point that the 2 points that Man City lost in against Liverpool, that
I mean,
could be the
keeping in
major
mind Man
pointer
City
towards
have
the
a
end of.
game in hand, so it's a even more
But
better
still,
point for
yeah,
City.
it, no, it could be that last point could come back to bite their butt. But
Especially considering that City dominated the game.
and
Hmm.
they had a penalty. If they didn't have a
Yeah.
scoring chance, I wouldn't be saying this. They had a penalty, and if you'd say who do you want to score a penalty, I would say De Bruyne all day long, and he bottled
The
it.
really,
So
really
yeah,
interesting thing for me in this video is that we've talked like for 1 hour and we've not talked about VAR. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy we didn't talk
it's
about VAR because there were a
it's
lot of
gone.
horrendous decisions this week. Let's not get that wrong.
It's it's gone beyond a certain level to discuss about war, because we know they are going to retrospect and they're going to keep making changes on it. and I think the referees using VAR needs to go to a proper doctor and check their eye, because they keep making decisions, getting
Yeah.
decisions wrong all
I
the
mean,
time,
I'm
and
not
we
going to
blame
complain
the
about the
technology.
Gomez penalty because it was penalty. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It is a penalty, and we've
What
seen
about
those given.
what about the Bamford offside, man?
That is
That is
ridiculous, man. I don't know. He was
ridiculous.
just
That was
pointing,
ridiculous.
and if this
I
is
don't know
going to
what.
make, oh,
And I'm just getting more frustrated because Bamford was in my FPL team.
Same here, man. Same here. He was my, but yeah, guys, it's so much of these decisions are going to be a factor in this season, and why this season is going to be so exciting is because all the teams are up for it, and all the teams look like they can have a horrendous game week. So yeah, guys, we'll be talking about all the games this season, and do join us next time. I think
yes.
it'll be next week, the game week 9. And do like, share, and subscribe the channel, and also follow us on all the social media platforms. And yeah, guys, it's Srini and Anirudh and Sharda signing off for this video. Peace.
Okay.
Bro,
I swear you'll never see anything like this ever.